And we're live here on Facebook. Like to welcome. I'm sorry, YouTube. Man, it's been a while.
Yeah, the YouTube, Mike.
We're live on YouTube. Like to welcome those listening in podcast land, and also my buddy Rich. Rich, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, Mike.
I did copy. Yeah. I did share the video over to Facebook, so you can welcome those people.
Okay, yeah. Welcome to anybody that's popped over to the YouTube video from Facebook, but also welcome to everybody in the podcast land that could be listening to us at their convenience. So, Mike, pretty normal.
Okay,
week.
Yeah. Welcome to anybody that's
at work. It was nice to have a slow day on Monday, so I could live stream and watch the race while doing some work. And
slow day? I don't even know what that is right now.
Yeah.
I put in 55 plus hours in the last 3 weeks.
Ouch.
Each of the last 3 weeks. So.
No, it's been it's just kind of been slow weeks for me, which is nice. And then heading into Labor Day weekend, so it'll be a 4-day weekend because I'm taking Friday off because we go down to our lake vacation with the family.
Be warned, next week we are doing a different time, and we're doing Thursday, so that'll be nice. And then busy Friday, and then Saturday, good weekend. So
and we got fantasy football drafts coming up. So yeah, drafts on Sunday throughout the day, as it's a long draft.
I'm taking my full day every time.
You're taking the full day every pick.
If you're gonna do it that way, I'm gonna make it a 7-day draft at least.
Okay. I'm gonna meme you every time. I'm gonna meme you multiple memes while you're on the clock.
That's fine.
But luckily you just have the one pick in the first round, and then you don't pick again till the third. Your second round pick went to me when you got Laporta.
Yeah.
When we did our trade.
How did I lose my third round?
Huh?
How did I lose my third round?
No, you have 2 third-round picks. You have my third rounder and your third rounder.
Yeah.
So fantasy football drafts coming up soon, which is always fun. To have those drafts. But Mike, we got a show to do, which is why we're actually on the line and talking and recording. So Mike, we're going to be kind of wrapping up the Olympics with maybe some final thoughts, and then maybe looking ahead to the 28 games in Los Angeles, as we got some new sports or new and returning sports to kind of highlight, as well as going into the NASCAR corner, as we got some leftovers, as we got to talk about the option tire that they used at Richmond, as well as recap Michigan and preview Daytona. Mike, what else are we going to be talking about?
We have baseball to talk about, as always. And we're speaking of NFL and drafts, we are a week and a half out from actual football. So we got to talk division and wild card predictions. Next week, folks, we'll give you our Super Bowl predictions, and that's going to be fun. Coaches, and we'll talk some more about just some leftovers from last week as well for our shout out or for our quick hits. All that and more, Rich, but what's it time to do?
Mike, go ahead and roll the intro.
Broadcasting live from somewhere in Iowa, this is Balls and Sticks, the podcast, with your hosts, Mike and Rich.
And we're back. Okay, Rich, here's the deal. Before we get into anything, we got to talk about Reese's Puff cereals for cinnamon checks. Man, this is a rough one. I love both of these. But apparently the cheese stands alone, Rich.
Oh, I'm sure it did. I kind of figured it would probably be a lopsided vote this week. I went with cinnamon checks. Was I the only one, Mike?
You were the only one, as Reese's gets 6 6 votes. Let me give you the shout outs for the cinnamon checks, Rich.
Me.
Rich Hendricks. That's it. Reese's Puff Cereal, Mikey Hart, Pam Hendricks, Greg Sackerson, Keaton Werner, Ashley Shreepeck, and Josh Hendricks. So, small crowd this week, but that's all we needed. And Reese's Puffs goes on.
All right, Mike, this week's poll, which I'll probably put up tomorrow morning, we're going to go with breakfast casserole versus the sausage breakfast burrito. The reason why it's only sausage breakfast burrito is because we had other flavors of breakfast burritos and sausage won out.
Even over your brisket one.
Even over the brisket and over, I think it was between bacon, chorizo, and sausage won out.
By the way, chorizo sandwiches are the best, but
yeah,
what do you do?
All right, so Mike, tell them where they can find those poll questions.
Rich, you can find those on Balls and Sticks at facebook.com/ballsandsticks and facebook.com/fans of Balls and Sticks, along with Rich and mine's personal Facebook page.
All right, so we'll look to get that. I'll look to get that up tomorrow morning. So, Mike, bon voyage as the Paris Olympics wrapped up last week. But
did you watch the closing ceremonies?
No, I did not.
And I don't know about you. I love opening ceremonies. I hardly ever watch closing ceremonies. To me, closing ceremonies end up being just lame, and I never actually take a real hard look at it.
No, I didn't watch the closing games, the closing ceremonies. I heard they utilized Tom Cruise for a big stunt to make up I guess for the passing of the torch from from Paris to LA.
Well, guess what? That just goes. So, fun fact about me, Rich, and I know you know this, but maybe our fans don't. Did you know that I've never seen an entire Tom Cruise movie?
From start to finish, never seen one.
Nope. Nope.
Wow.
And so, even better, I haven't seen a Tom Cruise closing ceremonies.
Yeah. All right, Mike. So final thoughts and maybe some top moments, even if we're going to be rehashing them from 2 weeks ago when we last talked about the Olympics at the halfway point.
Yeah.
But I'm sure not everybody listened to that show, so we can easily recycle some of those things.
So we have a couple of things. I really enjoyed watching climbing, the boulder climbing thing. That was really cool. Overall, that was fun learning about the sport a little bit. I do love that you get to learn about sports that you don't actually know anything about. I thoroughly enjoy water polo, and I got to watch tons of it. But I also got to watch things like the equestrian. The equestrian here, first of all, the fact that the equestrian stuff was done at Versailles, tell me a more fitting place ever in the world than Versailles for something like that.
Yeah, I can't think of any.
It is literally the playground of the king. And it's been turned into this just the whole going out. Oh man, it was so beautiful. I loved it. So the equestrian really got me. But I mean, how about the most? I'll let you give a couple, and then we'll talk about the most memed, because there's three very big.
That's where kind of I was going to go with the whole meme thing.
You're gonna go with the three gold, the podium.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with the Australian break dancer. Of all the memes that she's done, I think my favorite one was who did it better, and it was her going around in the circles, and then it had Homer Simpson. Homer Simpson go. Yeah, who did it better? So those were some of my ones. And I think I had one where I think I sent one to Amy and Josh. Was like, what my fish does when I pull it out of the water and it hits the deck. It's like, well, flopping and doing the whole.
Oh, that's funny.
Going around there.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's a good one. Okay, do you remember the other two of the top three memed events?
It'd have to be the Turkish pistol shooter. I do not remember the third one.
The third one was the gentleman sausage that cost a pole vaulter.
Oh, yeah.
But it seems like apparently he made out in that deal because he got offered $200,000 per appearance in an adult film that if he chooses to do it. So, however many he does, $250,000 each time. Worth it? I mean, I would never do it, but now far and away my favorite moment, and my wife and I actually very much disagree with it. The Chinese gymnast standing on the podium. I think the girl is like 13 or 14 years old. She's as young as you can be. And the Italians are biting their medals. And she didn't understand. Like, she looks over and didn't understand and was like, ooh, and does it. And the look on her face just said it all. But again, my wife looks at it as, well, this is just peer pressure at its worst. And I'm like, yes, but also it's best. For me, this little girl had, like, she didn't know any better. She really just, again, the hard part is we only get the images. But the delight on her, what looks to me like delight on her face, makes it worthwhile.
Yeah, I think speaking of gymnastics, I kind of like what at the Simone Biles and Jordan Charles did as the silver and bronze medal finishes on their one except kind of like bowing down and
to greatness.
Yeah, bowing down to greatness when they were both defeated.
Oh man, I totally agree with that one, and I agree with that one in the face of so many people saying how terrible is it that they were bowing down to this girl. She was better than them, and they acknowledged it. Why is that a bad thing? Anyway, so yeah, those are some of our top moments. Rich, do you have any final thoughts? I mean, it's the Olympics. To me, it's the same thoughts. It's the love of getting to watch those obscure sports, and watching that. But do you have any thoughts outside of that?
No, okay. Not really.
So the next host city is Milan for the Winter Games, and then the next Summer Games are in Los Angeles.
Yeah, so you're going to see. It's going to be the third time that events are going to be held at the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum. So that'll be the first time that's ever happened.
Yep.
The opening ceremonies will be at the Coliseum. I think they've said the closing ceremonies are going to be split between SoFi, and some elements of the closing ceremonies will be at the LA Memorial Coliseum.
So the fun part about the best part about the SoFi thing, the soccer stuff cannot happen there unless they put in real grass.
Yeah, actually, SoFi is going to host the swimming events.
Oh, okay. So they're doing that. They're doing like what Paris did, build it. I'm okay with that. I actually wish they would have done, and I think that'll be super cool to have 100,000 people.
Or swimming, like all the distance. The diving's going to be somewhere else in the city.
That'll be cool.
They've said all the basketball is going to be at the Intuit Dome, the new stadium right next door to SoFi. Gymnastics will be at the Crypto Center where the Lakers play. And but oddly enough, Mike, I think they said that softball and I think the canoe or the sport racing, it's going to be held in Oklahoma City. I can understand the softball because they said, oh, there's a giant softball complex already built up there in Oklahoma City.
Okay.
So they're going to utilize that. I haven't heard how they're going to utilize, where they're going to do baseball. Because that is one of the sports returning to the Olympics, along with.
I know it's not going to be a thing, but you know what I want it to be?
What?
I mean, it's already built for it. Wouldn't it be perfect to put it in Omaha? Right? Isn't that where the College World Series is?
It is.
And
It
don't they have a complex of 10 to 15
multiple
ball fields there that they could legitimately play with 5 to 10,000 people at each game almost?
They could.
With
easily
the
could.
largest stadium holding up to like 80,000?
Or at least maybe you have your preliminary rounds in a place like Omaha, and then when it gets down to the medal games, that's where you utilize Angels or Dodger Stadium for the medal games, for your bronze and gold medal games.
Are they letting other question? Are they letting MLB players in it?
I highly doubt it, but there's still 4 years. Maybe they do. They do, but I doubt that Major League Baseball would put their season on hold for 2 weeks.
That's a great point. I think, but they do for the World Baseball Classic thing that they did a couple years ago.
Actually, they don't put the season on hold. The players that participate in that's pretty much their spring training.
Okay.
Is instead of being at spring training, they go and participate in this tournament every other year.
And I think that would, again, if they could do it early enough, that would work. But yeah, we'll see.
By all means, I think I would rather see major leaguers in an Olympics and not have an All-Star game that year.
100%.
Than do that. So in addition to baseball, returning to the Olympics is softball, which we already touched base on. You're going to see lacrosse and cricket coming back to the Olympics.
Let's do it. Let's watch some cricket. New
sports, Mike, squash and flag football. So already there's rumblings about, there's already, I guess, the quarterback of the flag football national team has already come out and say that I don't think NFLers should all automatically get a pass and be automatically assumed that they're going to take our spots. We know this game. So do you think, would you want NFL players in this?
I've watched
or go Mahomes with the people that do this.
I've watched this. This might be a great transition for our football segment, but we're gonna skip that because we're gonna talk a long time on that. I've watched Patrick Mahomes play. I'm pretty sure any flag football team with him on it is going to just win. Like, the way that man dances, it's not like, guys already, like, getting hands on Patrick Mahomes is hard enough because the way he contorts his body and moves it around and shimmies. If he shimmies like he does, flags are going to be up and down and all over the place. You wouldn't be able to touch him.
Yeah, supposedly the 5-on-5, the flag football be 5-on-5. I'm not sure if it's, so I'm not sure if you have a 10-team, if players play both ways and you only have a 5-person team, or if it's 10, to where you could have people that are defense only and offense only, or a combination of both.
Yeah.
But no offensive linemen.
Okay. Man, that sounds like backyard football. I actually like that a little bit more. I like the concept of backyard football. That sounds great. I like it, but
watch for those. Squash and flag football are both considered optional, and they may not continue at the Brisbane games. And already it has been confirmed that boxing could be down for the fight, as they don't technically have a governing body right now.
Yeah.
And breaking is off the docket and will not be in Los Angeles.
Brisbane, I'm looking at you. Bring back ray gun and her entire routine. Just make breaking ray gun the entire time. I mean, by the way, if you look at what she did, a lot of what she did was inspired by her homeland.
Mm-hmm.
Girl deserved more points than she got. I mean, she got none, but anyway, Rich, with that, let's leave Paris on our way. As I ask you, do you see what's coming up next, Rich?
Mike, it is a left turn.
It is, Rich, and after that?
It's another left turn, Mike, and tell them why.
Because this is the NASCAR Corner, presented as always by Triple I Sports Cards Incorporated, Moline, Illinois. Check them out for all your sports memorabilia needs on 5th Avenue in Moline or on their eBay store. Once again, that is Triple I Sports Cards Incorporated. As we head into the NASCAR Corner, we're going to talk about the Cookout 500 just in the fact that we will talk about the optional races. So, Rich, we had a ton to talk about last week. One of the best things of the race was the optional tires.
Yes, the option tire that brought more speed to your car, but it came at the cost of tire wear.
Yeah, the tire wear was terrible.
Pretty much, teams were estimating that on the testing, you got between 25 and 30 laps on that option tire before you had to think about making a pit stop and changing them out again.
Now, I think so. The question becomes, if NASCAR decides to bring them back, I don't want it to be you get just one set of those optionals.
I think they had two at Richmond.
Right.
You had two sets available.
I want you to have, basically, you can run the entire race on those tires, but you're gonna have twice as many pit stops. And by the way, when Goodyear puts the tires together, you're gonna see that legitimately, they can tell you, yeah, we know this compound, it's gonna get about half of the length as these other ones. Every time. These guys know the tire compounds that they're bringing, and they know what the effect at each track is every single race. They know that. So if NASCAR said, okay, we're going to have the optional tire, we want it to be about 3 to 5 miles an hour faster, but we want it to last half as long as the regular tires. I think, and everybody gets as many sets. I don't want to say as many, but everybody gets equal sets, and you return the ones that you don't use or whatever, and you get to choose. Okay, Rich, you choose. You're the crew chief. Are we going to go fast, but we got to do twice as many pit stops? Do you have a pit crew that can make that time up? Because speed-wise, if you're stopping twice as often, you're never going to make that up. I don't care that it's 3 to 5 miles an hour faster. You're not going to make up. You're not going to make up that much in the course of a 500 mile race when you're pitting twice as much. You're just never going to do it. Or do you strategically use it at now? I think honestly, we all know the real strat is at 50. If the tires only last 25 laps, put them on in the last two, and hope for the best.
Yeah, and that's kind of what happened. As I think it was Daniel Suarez that was the first driver to put on the option tires, and he shot up from 19th all the way up into the top 5 and even led some laps.
Yep.
Until the tires gave out, but he led some laps. He lapped some people before he had to make his pit stop with everybody else.
Yeah.
And it got him a good finish in the race. I kind of like the idea of only giving every team 2 sets where they have to strategically use those. Either use them at the same time everybody else is using them, or do what Suarez did and put them on early and then save the second set for later.
Yeah.
To hopefully build up a big lead and hope that when you're on regular tires and everybody else is on those option tires, that you're not either that lap pace that you put in front of your car from going on the option tires before everybody else holds up.
Yeah.
While everybody else is catching up to you. So I wouldn't go with the same amount of tires. I wouldn't go with the same amount of option tires and regular tires.
Okay.
And like you're suggesting, or do you let it up saying that, all right, regardless of how many you choose between option and regular, you only get 6 sets for this race. So choose to use those wisely, but once you're out, you're out. So if you chose more option tires versus regular tires, you've got to make the decision of which tires you have to run your option tires a little bit longer than those 25 or 30 laps where they're most effective, because you chose to have more option tires than
the problem with
than
that though
regular
is
tires.
that you got to make sure the big problem would be you have to make sure you're being safe. Like, you can't let the fact that you picked all optional tires and you're out there and you're running laps, and yeah, you might be significantly slower now from 25 to 40, whatever the pit window is for everybody else. But those tires can't be so much worse that the car's not drivable. That's
true.
Because that's going to cause wrecks. So I like the option. I think they have to figure out a better strategy for what it looks like. I could be okay with 2, but my bigger problem is that how do I say this in a gracious way? My bigger problem is more that in the same week that we had a race basically overturned, which makes it seem like those what's it called? Like the stewards decided the race, i.e. F1. We now also are talking about tire options like we have in F1. I don't know. It's a little rough for me, but I like the option. So
I did too. So I'm hoping it comes back and it's not just a Richmond thing. So moving forward, last week we were at Michigan Speedway where they had to run the majority of the race on Monday morning.
Yeah, I didn't
the
get to
race
watch any of it.
race started at 10 in the morning. It resumed. I actually got to watch the Monday action. As I alluded, it was a small day. It was a short day. So I had the live stream on and had the radio feed as my audio. So I didn't get any replays if I missed something because I had other things going up.
If you
but
got
I
to
could
do a call,
minimize
if you
it.
got to make a call or something, yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, I minimized it because I had other things going on my screens.
How nice that you're back to a point where you're slow on. You've gotten caught up enough that you can do that on a Monday.
Yeah, exactly. It was great. So. But Mike, your race winner was Tyler Reddick.
Yep.
Due to some late race crashes that caused it to go into overtime, both our picks of Chase Elliott and Ryan Blaney finished outside of the top 10. Mike, your pick of Chase Elliott came in 15th. My pick of Ryan Blaney came in 18th. Going into Daytona, you have a 16-14 advantage.
Yeah, so real quick, by the way, to all those that are upset about the NASCAR officials waiting till Wednesday. By the way, we talked about that last week. Neither one of us complained about it, but it was the point that had been made that why do you wait till Wednesday to make these rulings? Why do you wait till Wednesday to make these arguments? Did you see the big news that came out Wednesday this week?
I did not, Mike. What was that?
There was a penalty announced that the number 11 car, Denny Hamlin's team, had some engine inspection failure.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're being fined 25 owner driver points. They're being docked 10 points. 10 points. 10 playoff points. That's huge. He literally he's going to have to win every round in order to make that up, basically. Like, it makes... But nobody's complaining that it came out Wednesday. Like, that's my problem. The hypocrisy that people were arguing 2 weeks ago, or last week, that why did it take till Wednesday to make this decision? Well, NASCAR generally, penalty day is Wednesday for NASCAR. That's not unusual. Tuesday or Wednesday, one of those 2 days, you see penalties come out. It's a thing in NASCAR. Shot at. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say about that. This week we're heading to the Coke Zero Sugar 400 at Daytona. What's the difference between Coke Zero and Coke Zero Sugar? Why are we...
One has sugar and one doesn't.
But I thought Coke Zero didn't have sugar. That's why it was Coke Zero. Okay, anyway, Rich, obviously we know... Same advice we give for all of these Daytona and Talladega and starting to look like Atlanta races. Don't count on anybody being great. Like, you never know who's going to win this race. This race is a crapshoot. Bubba Wallace could win. You could have. I mean, Michael McDowell could win.
Heck, you got Michael McDowell and Todd Gilliland starting on the front row.
Like, it's crazy. You never know what's going to happen in this race. Don't count on anybody. The big one's going to happen when it does. Blah blah blah. We say it every time. Like, I made the joke at the beginning before when we were off air. You didn't even react to it because it's the same every time we go to these tracks, and you have to play it the same. But that's the way it is. It sucks, but the track's gonna win. I'm picking Bubba Wallace. What are you doing, Rich?
I'm going to go with Ross Chastain because he needs to do well if he's going to make the playoffs.
Bubba Wallace has to win.
He's really close. He's really close to the cut. He's straddling that cut line. He's above it right now, but by the time he leaves Daytona, he could be below it.
Bubba Wallace has to win in order to make the playoffs. So there you go. Rich, we did have some NASCAR news that you have on here. What is it?
It's that the Clash is going to go from the LA Coliseum to Bowman Gray Stadium in Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
Cool. I love that it's back in North Carolina. I love that it's in the Winston-Salem area. That's kind of NASCAR, the home of NASCAR people. So I'm good with it.
Yeah, I never really like the Coliseum anyway. And maybe that's because I don't know. I was really just thinking, they probably don't want it because it's too close to the Olympics. But oh no, that's not till 28. So I don't know. I like that it's going to that type of historic stadium. So I hope they take this exhibition race elsewhere too. Rotate it around. It doesn't always have to be at the same place every single year.
Oh, it's a small NASCAR track. It used to be a NASCAR track. But Winston-Salem State University plays their football games inside. So it started out as a racing venue, and it has been moved to the football team plays inside, and then they still have races there regularly. So I love it. I'm all on board. Let's do it.
All right, Mike. So anything else from the NASCAR corner?
I don't think so. I think we're good. Let's take us out, Rich.
All right, so that was the NASCAR Corner presented by Triple I Sports Cards Incorporated, Moline, Illinois, and you can also find them on eBay. Triple I Sports Cards Incorporated. So for making circles on the racetrack, we're going to go to the baseball diamond, Mike, as from show to show, the Cubbies had 2 with the Blue Jays, 3 with the Tigers, and 1 with the Marlins. Mike, you gave them 3 wins. I gave them 4 wins. And Mike, they hit the 4 wins this week.
Yeah, I forget how bad.
But that'll happen when you're playing 3 last place division.
I forget
teams.
how bad those last 3 those teams are. Rich, is it good that they're playing that well? Do you feel good about them playing as well as they are right now?
You know what? I'll take it. I'll take what I can get at this point. I mean, if we're playing meaningful games at the end of September, even if it means we clinch a wild card and then go out in 1 game, that's 1 more game of baseball I get to watch the Cubbies play in.
Okay, I'm okay with that. You're right.
That's 1 more game, if anything.
1 more game,
and that's a playoff game.
Yeah. Okay, Rich. We're doing a show on Thursday because of that. They have an off day, so we only have 5 games. The 5 games breakdown is the Marlins tomorrow and Sunday, a day off on Monday, and then 3 games with the Pirates, and then a day off on Thursday. That's right.
The off day is Thursday, Mike. So those will both be on the road in Miami and Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Mike, Pittsburgh is starting to play like the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Yep.
And the Marlins are horrible like they always are, so I'm going to go 4 wins again.
I'm going to be above 500, Rich.
Okay.
Do I get some credit for that?
Sure.
I'm going to put them at 3 wins.
All right. So because I know we have a lot to talk about with the NFL, let's kick the can down the road of talking about a possible rule change that the commissioner is putting out there. So we'll save that for next week.
Yeah, we can talk about it. I think we got time, right?
All right. You're the one that has the timer, so timer at least knows how long we've been on.
This won't take a huge amount. I don't think it's going to take a huge amount.
Okay.
I don't. But give me the rundown of the rules.
All right. So supposedly the commissioner is considering making that a starting pitcher must pitch 6 innings.
Okay.
Got to pitch 6 innings. But there are exceptions, I guess. He may leave earlier than 6 innings if he throws 100 pitches, if he gives up 4 or more earned runs, or if they get injured.
Okay. I mean,
outside of those exceptions, pitchers have a mandate to make it through at least 6 innings. That would force teams to rethink their pitching staffs to meet the new standards.
I actually don't like it. I was gonna say I do like it, but I don't, because I like that teams like I do like that teams like Tampa Bay have use an opener. I don't mind the opener strategy. I don't think it's a guarantee for anything, but an opener is a fun tactic rather than a starter. So why not? I'm torn on this one, but sure, whatever.
Yeah, I don't know if I like it. I'm the same way. I mean, things happen. I'm glad that they, if they ever implement this, I mean, I think the main rule about it is that they want to hopefully bring people into the game to where, if, let's say you well,
let's go back to 2015, 2016. If Jake Arrieta's pitching, he's going to be pitching. Like, honestly, back then we knew he was going to pitch the whole game, 3/4 of the game anyway.
He was going to get the 6 or 7 innings.
You're guaranteed that unless he has a really terrible day. By the way, how often do you pull a starter before 6?
Now a lot of people are.
It's true.
Because it's the whole, he's getting to the 3rd part of the lineup. Nope, got to pull him out.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. How many times have we seen the no-hitter alerts? And regardless of how well the guy is doing, manager comes out and gives him the hook, even though he could have a perfect game or a no-hitter going on.
Yeah. I think in that you're right. I'm game with that. I'm okay with that. So
I'm still waiting to see. Right now, I'd have to say I'm against it.
I'm
'Cause,
mostly against it. I will
like-
admit I'm mostly against it. But
You could, because you're also getting away from like the age-old like a double headers where it's a bullpen game some days.
yeah,
Where the second game is totally a bullpen because your starting pitchers are just gassed, or
you're five and a half-
or injuries happen,
or if you
injuries
have-
have happened.
if you have those stints where you have 12 games in a row, that second half of those, that last half, those last couple of games, you need a bullpen game in there. Just because,
Yep, a long stretch of games, you need a bullpen game.
I mean, we've seen the Cubs play scheduled, not even like makeup games, but we've seen the Cubs scheduled. Almost, I think it's 12 or 13 is the longest that they can go. But I think we've seen 13 games in as many consecutive days. By the end of those 13 days, you can't have your number one guy pitched 3 times in 15 days or in 12 days. That's crazy. That's what you do at the end of the playoffs, not at the Yeah, I totally didn't even think about bullpen games. Okay,
yeah,
with
the only thing that the only thing that I do like about it is that it would force teams to change how they develop their pitchers.
yes,
They could force them to have to teach them, and for the pitchers to learn more than just 3 pitches, like a fastball, a changeup, and like a slider or a curveball.
Yep.
Because you're going to need more pitches to get through more innings.
yeah,
And finally getting away from the whole max effort, throw as hard as you can, because you're
throw
only
until you
going
have
through the
Tommy John
lineup 2 times.
Throw until you have Tommy John surgery, basically.
Yeah.
So, okay, with that, Rich, I think that's it for baseball. Let's hit into football real quick as we then have some shout-outs and some hockey talk to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Rich.
All right, Mike.
So this week we are going to give the people our divisional and wild card predictions. I think that is going to be fun. I know where I'm going with most of these. I don't know if you do. I mean, we know where each other's going because we talked about it pregame.
But we really didn't give too many reasons why we
Yeah.
chose that team.
And some of these I think are going to get, and we got about 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes for this
Gotcha.
part. So we're going to start. Let's go with the easiest of them all. Let's go with the West. NFC West.
Yeah.
I think the Niners are pretty locked in for me.
Yeah, I agree. They they haven't lost anybody yet. I think even if Brandon Ayuk gets his trade request granted and leaves,
Yep.
I think that team can overcome that loss and adjust
Yeah.
without him. And the AFC West is the same thing. That's a no-brainer. Don't even think about it.
Yep. Nobody stepped up yet. Even when you thought they were, nobody stepped up yet. Kansas City Chiefs all day, baby.
All right, Mike. To maybe one of the 2 of the easiest conferences to pick, let's go over to maybe a hard conference to pick, the Eastern divisions, Mike.
Okay, so this gets into some hard ones. Do you get distracted by the stars? You see what I did there?
Yeah.
Or do you let the Eagles fly?
Yeah, Mike, who won the division last year?
Wasn't it the Eagles?
No, it was Dallas.
Oh, it was Dallas.
This team is this division has never had a repeat winner. It's rotated. It's been
Yeah.
somebody different every single year. So the Cowboys won it last year.
For how many years, though?
I don't know how many more. I don't know how many years it's gone. It's gone this way.
Okay.
But I think Washington is still kind of developing, although they're going to be better this year.
Yep.
The Giants, no.
But both the Eagles and the Cowboys look like they should be good teams.
Yeah.
So
So I went with Philly.
yeah, I went with Philly as well.
But however,
Don't count Dallas out just yet.
don't count them out.
Dallas
Yes.
out just yet.
Don't count them out.
Okay, let's go to the I think the hardest division in football to pick right now.
Yeah, the AFC East.
There's
There are three
only
teams
one
that-
team in this division that I don't think you have to worry about picking.
Yeah.
That's going to be and should be, if you're not doing anything about it, it should be the Patriots. Patriots aren't going to do nothing.
Totally agree. I don't know if they'll be playing to get the number one pick, but they're going to have to do. It's going to be hard for them to not get the number one pick.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, there is a team out there called the Panthers.
There are. The Panthers are out there. They could pull it off, and who knows what the Vikings could look like too. They've gotten hit with a lot of injuries this year.
Yeah,
I don't know if it'll be that bad.
We'll,
But
we'll talk about that later. But Rich, so the AFC East, you got the Dolphins, you got Aaron Rodgers, you got the Bills. Those three teams are very evenly matched.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta go with the Bills.
Hmm.
I think Aaron
I'm not-
Rodgers is too
Go ahead.
old. Aaron Rodgers is too old. And here's my problem. When you have question marks at whether or not your quarterback can make it an entire season, and I know that the Dolphin fans are going to say, well, Tua's fit was fine last year. Yeah, I don't care. He's had issues, and it's not just the 1 year that they almost killed him. That man has tons of issues. I don't like it. I don't want to see it. I think the Bills win it.
All right. I'm going with the Dolphins. I think the Bills take a step back.
Okay.
It'll be interesting to see. They're going with a really young receiving core
Yep.
with Stephon Diggs now down in Houston. So I think this could be a step back for Buffalo as they try and rebuild their receiving core. But they still have Josh Allen, so it wouldn't surprise me
what
if
happened
they do pull it together.
When Stephon Diggs moved out of Minneapolis? Didn't Minneapolis get better because of it?
Yeah, but the Justin Jefferson. All right, Keenan Coleman, the guy that drafted as a second round pick, is nowhere on the level of Justin Jefferson.
Do we know that? Do we truly know that? And I'm not saying he's going to be. I'm just saying, just because Stephon Diggs brings some toxicity to a receiving room.
He's now shown that he's worn out his welcome, and now is in two places now.
He brings toxicity with him. So I don't know. Maybe they get better because he's gone.
All right, yeah, I don't hate it, but I think
But
that
where are you going with
I'm
it,
gonna-
Rich?
I went with Dolphins. So.
Okay, why? Like,
You know-
you trust Tua that much?
I don't know,
Okay.
but I like the talent around him, and Mike McDaniel has found a way to make Tua work,
Mike McDaniel.
and I think he continues it.
Mike McDaniels is a great reason to pick Miami. I'm right there with you. I still think that the Bills are a better team on paper. Okay,
Now they just need to not fall apart when the weather starts getting colder, to where those games at the end of the year mean a lot more.
yep.
All right, Mike.
Let's go to
we're
the
gonna
South real quick.
Yep.
NFC South again. I think it's who doesn't want to win this division is the Panthers aren't gonna win this division for a long time. They don't look like they have anything in place, so take them off the board. Then it's who's gonna be forced to win this division: Atlanta, New Orleans, or Tampa. That's my perspective of it. I think the only one that has a 100% answer at their quarterback position right now, and even has a backup that you can kind of feel solid about, is Atlanta. That's my opinion. Let me hear yours.
You know, I agree with the Panthers not being anywhere close to winning that division, and I think the Saints think that they're contenders.
Always.
And they keep building their team as if they're contenders, but they need to embrace a rebuild and stop restructuring contracts and kicking the salary cap can down the road.
Yep.
And embrace a rebuild. But I think it's the Falcons' division to lose because of what they did by bringing in Kirk Cousins
100%.
and also they traded for Matthew Judon, a pretty good pass rusher, to finally shore up the hole in pass rush.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
Let's say you're a team like Houston. You've restructured contracts over the last dozen years. So
New Orleans, but yeah. Okay.
Or New Orleans, sorry. What did I say?
You said the Texans.
Okay.
We'll get to the Texans later, Mike. They're next.
They're next. You stretch out these contracts for huge amounts of time. Do you restructure contracts to just bankrupt yourself over the next 5 years and have the bottom of the barrel players for the next 5 years so that in 6 years you can get, like, let's say you're the Bears type right now. So you got the number 1 pick overall. I know that I have this guy who I think is going to be a 15-year guy, right? If you have someone that you think is going to be a 15-year guy, do you restructure your contracts to load up the next 5 years? Yeah, you can't put anybody around him. That sucks. But year 6, year 7, year 8, year 9, next 15 years that you have backloaded where you can't pay those off, you can't redo it anymore, now you can put everybody around him and pay him what he's worth.
Yeah, but for me, I can understand them juggling the salary cap and restructuring deals, kicking dead money down the road when they had Drew Brees and Sean Payton in their heyday. But to do it just to be a 500 team and maybe win a weak division just doesn't seem worth it to me.
No, I can get behind that. Okay, now you mentioned the Texans. Why is that, Rich?
Well, Mike, because the Texans is who I think will win the South, but I think that's going to be a really competitive division.
Yep.
I mean, the Colts showed what. It'll be interesting to see what the Colts can do with a healthy Anthony Richardson, because there were flashes when he was on the field last year, and the Titans and Jaguars I don't think are going to be pushover teams either this year.
I still have problems with the Colts.
Okay.
I still don't know if I trust them in any way, shape, or form, and that sucks. I just don't know. But I also picked the Texans. But I agree, the rest of that division is it's so good.
It's gonna be a good fight for that division, unlike the NFC South. So, Mike, because I know we have probably going to go through the entire division in the NFC North, let's go over to the AFC North. And Mike, about the only team, much like the AFC South, I think the only team that's not going to contend in this division is going to be Pittsburgh.
Yep.
But maybe they surprise you, and maybe they do surprise and stick around because of how well coached they are.
So we say it every time we talk about it, and we talked about it at the beginning of the year, and it's why the Bears were so low ranked at the end of the year last year, when we were saying, Rich, if you have 2 quarterbacks, how many do you have?
You have none.
I know, he rolls his eyes because I do this every time, but that's the truth. So, that's going to hurt Pittsburgh. I think here's the problem. Here's my one problem with that. Mm-hmm. If Russell is out if they take him out within the first 2 or 3 weeks and they put Fields in, I think that changes 100% what they look like for playoffs. But as it sits today, at the top of their depth chart, Russell is not their long-term solution. They know that. I think the goal is to let him play, to give Fields some time to get back to what he needs to be, and then come in after that. That's my prediction. But outside,
and that benefits the Bears if he plays the majority of the games, because that takes their pick from a 6th to a 4th.
Yep.
For compensation. But division winner, Mike, I'm going to go with the Baltimore Ravens. I like what they've done with bringing in Derrick Henry and the continued development of Lamar Jackson in the Todd Monken offense.
So this
I like
is,
the Ravens.
This is, in my opinion, the hardest division in the NFL right now. Because you have the Ravens, the Bengals, like, the terrible people, and the Ravens. The doo-doos and the Ravens. I think all of those teams are great. Even the team that I hate. Because they hire rapists. So I think this is a tough division. I'm actually going to pick the Bengals this time. Joe Burrow is great. Lamar Jackson is great. I think this is the hardest division to win, but I'm going to pick the Bengals on this one. In the NFC, Rich, let's go to the top. I think the Lions still are at the top of the division.
I agree. That team plays a lot of dome games this year.
Yeah.
And that offense is built for a dome of all places, of a dome. So it's hard for me not to pick the Lions. Mike, who's going to come in second in this division?
This is really hard. I think it could go one of two ways, but I've been harping on something for months, and I hold true to it. I think the biggest problem, the next step down, is the Bears and the Packers. I think the Vikings, because of injuries and because of a lot of things that have happened to them in the last couple months, I genuinely think that the Packers, that the Vikings are not in it this year.
I can agree with that. It's just coming down to, can the Bears take advantage of that early, easier schedule before they get into harder games at the back half of the year, of the back half of their schedule, but you also have the thought of, could Jordan Love and the Packers take a step back?
Yep.
Back as well. So I can be flip-flopped on which one makes the playoffs and which one finishes second and third, and maybe one of them gets a wild card.
Yeah, I 100% agree with all of the
tough.
things that you're saying right now.
Especially since when we went through our prediction games, how could you have a 13-4 team miss the playoffs or a 12-4 team miss the playoffs?
I have an answer, Rich.
Yeah.
A head coach.
Okay.
I don't trust Matt Eberflus. I don't. I don't trust him. So he's the reason why I think that the Packers are the number 2 team in the division this year. Have them in the wild card.
Okay.
I hope that if the Bears miss the playoffs this year, Axe Eberflus get a real quarterback or a real coach in there that can coach a quarterback. There's a couple of guys out there that are available and should get looks, but aren't. So maybe. Anyway,
yeah.
With that, Rich.
All I know is from looking at who the Bears have hired in the past as coaches, they tend not to to go toward the big money guys. They look at people that maybe are getting their first head coaching candidate, but it's kind of like a head scratcher on why they hired them.
Yeah.
Some days. So
Rich, I said that I put the Packers in the wild card. I also put Seattle. I think they're going to be sneaky good this year. And then I put the Cowboys because, like we said when we talked about that division, either one of those teams could do really well, and the other two in that division aren't good enough to challenge them. So I think that the Cowboys get in. So I think it's the Cowboys, Seattle, and the Packers in the NFC wild card. What do you got for the wild card, Rich?
I also went with the Packers and the Cowboys.
Okay.
But my third team, I'm going to go with the Rams.
Okay.
It'll be interesting to see what their defense looks like, as it'll be year one without Aaron Darnold. But that offense looks to be pretty good with Kyron Williams, a healthy Cooper Kupp, and year two of Puka Nacua. So
yeah.
So yeah, as long as Matt Stafford can stay healthy and they don't have to depend on Jimmy G, I think they'll be okay.
Okay.
Going over to the AFC, Mike, my 3 wild card teams, I'm going to go with the team that you have alluded though that you don't like. but I'm going to go with the Cleveland Browns. That's a solid defense, and that defense wins championships. That's the only thing I can think of,
Yep.
But I'm going to go with the Browns. I went with Joe Burrow, and a healthy Joe Burrow gets the Bengals back in the playoff picture. And I'm going to go with the Jets making the playoffs because Aaron Rodgers wants to prove that he's still got it.
Okay, I actually like a lot of those picks. I picked the Ravens, which is who you put for the NFC North. I already had the Bengals in as my NFC North pick. So we're kind of on par with our NFC North and our AFC North. And we both agree that the AFC East is the other division to look out for. And I just think that the East is a little bit better, so I think the Dolphins and the Jets get in. Again, if their quarterbacks stay healthy,
That's a fair point.
Those two teams are going to be amazing. I think their offenses will roll over people like the Bengals and like the Browns, even when the defenses do win championships, but that tends to be towards the end of the year, not at the beginning of the year. So you got to stop a team from scoring in order to do that. And if it's early enough in the year, those two teams aren't going to be beat. Okay, with that, Rich, any other NFL talk you want to do before we head into our quick hits?
I do not. So next week, join us where we will give a Super Bowl prediction as well as talk some coaches on the hot seat other than Mike Eberflus.
Matt Eberflus.
And we'll also give you our predictions for Thursday night and the Brazil game, which will happen before we go into our normal coverage for week 1, which will be September 6th and 7th.
Yep.
So, Mike, quick hits. So, Mike, there's going to be some outdoor hockey at Wrigley Field as 3 games will be played at Wrigley Field. One that you probably won't be watching. But this year's Winter Classic will be at Wrigley Field, where the Blackhawks will take on the Blues on New Year's on the 31st. But they will also feature the Frozen Confines Big Ten Hockey Series.
I will actually watch all 3 of those. I don't like the Blackhawks, but I love the Winter Classic, so I will watch that.
Okay, so the games that are going to be staged there will be Penn State versus Notre Dame, Ohio State versus Michigan both of those games are going to be on the 3rd, Wisconsin versus Michigan State on the 4th, and Ohio State, Wisconsin for the women's on January 4th.
I like it. Let's watch it. I'm looking forward to it. Okay, and then shout-outs this week. Friend of the show, Eric Thompson. It's his birthday today. Happy birthday, Eric. My parents' anniversary was last Sunday. My brother-in-law's birthday was last Sunday. My sister-in-law has a birthday coming up in the next week or so. I don't know when her birthday is, but happy all of those things to those people. We have no active live show shout-outs. So do you have anything, Rich?
I do. I got to say happy birthday to my Aunt Kathy. It was her birthday yesterday.
Cool.
Yeah, it was yesterday.
With that, Rich, let's go ahead and roll that outro.
Broadcasting live from somewhere in Iowa, this is Balls and Sticks, the podcast, with your hosts, Mike and Rich.